It's early in the morning, and today we are getting ready to discuss some of the things that we have just found really stressful throughout Colombia in the year 2022 as we've been living across different Airbnbs. But real quick, let's do one of our favorite things that really alleviates the stress while we get ready for this conversation. Let's go for a hike. Mira, here. Okay, now 7 in the morning, we made it on the trail. This trail takes us about an hour and a half to do, I think.
Yeah.
First thing that we found really stressful in Colombia is the fact that
we fell off we fell off the canoe in the rapids in Sand Hill.
We fell off the canoe in the rapids, and this just kind of like woke us up because we were like, oh my gosh, we need to be more safe. We didn't quite have our international insurance by that point in time, so it was a big risk. The company did provide like a insurance package, so that gave us some reassurance, but I mean, it was just a scary moment for us, and
it was really scary because we went with our guide only. We had no idea that there were other people in the river.
Like people waiting to rescue you and stuff.
Yes, we had no idea that they were going to be there. So the uncertainty of like, who's going to rescue me? If I get rescued, will someone rescue Johnny? Like, we only have one guide, so he has to make a choice. And that's what went through my mind, like, the entire time.
Like, if those guides were not there to like rescue us, we would have been screwed. Oh my gosh.
They were there. They
there.
were our angels.
We both got pretty big bruises. I basically hit my groin. My right testicle was inflamed for a while, for like a full week. That's a fact. Because I kind of hit that area, and then I hit my knee, and then my foot scraped the rock. It's intense. Whitney hurt her booty. The honey spill. What happened, Whitney?
The honey mess. So we were moving from Airbnbs in Manizales. We were going from one place to another place. I was in charge of packing everything from the kitchen.
Yep.
That included all spices, coconut oil, everything we used to cook.
And it was walking distance, so we just packed it real fast. We weren't like really thinking. We were just throw it in the bag, walk to the new Airbnb, and then we'll just unpack it later and go enjoy the day. Well,
I packed the honey, and I packed it on the side. It was like a tiny
honey jar.
Yeah.
Maybe like it could go on an airplane. It was that tiny.
Yeah, it was super
like
tiny.
3 ounces.
But I packed it on the side, and it wasn't the best jar. Like the lid, it wasn't the best. And well, it spilled all over my backpack.
It just seeped all over her backpack onto everything, and it got into her
computer.
work computer, which was like really devastating. So we finally get back to the Airbnb at like 3 p.m. and that's when we start unpacking, and we notice like this honey is everywhere. Everything is sticky, and so we decide that we need to clean it up. So we had to take the computer apart, like take off all the little screws, and then we ended up getting Q-tips and alcohol. We spent like an hour and a half just meticulously like cleaning all the little edges. Thankfully, we only went into like, most of it went into the vent area, which doesn't have like any electronic components. So we were able to tilt it on its side, and within about 2 weeks, most of the honey came out.
I still feel a little bit on the side of the screen, but it's so good.
Yeah, that was a very scary, stressful moment, because without Whitney's job this year, we wouldn't have been able to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing the Santa Ana Trail today. It's one we're living close to right now. So pretty easy to get to. We could have probably actually walked to this trailhead, but we took a taxi. But yeah, if it sounds like we're breathing heavily, it's just because, you know, we are over 8,500 feet elevation here in Bogota. And so yeah, it doesn't matter, like any time of day, the elevation just hits you. Right, Vita?
Yes.
Oh, Whitney took off her fleece jacket. She got hot.
I'm hot.
You are hot, look at you. Oosh. I'm gonna pan up and down on your body. Ooh. We get it to the trail that it actually starts where it's like dirt and stuff, and it starts to get really, really dense. Show me what it's like, Vita. The third item that was very stressful was applying for the visa, the Colombian visa that I needed. Since I knew we wanted a longer term presence,
More than 6 months.
more than 6 months in Colombia, that I needed to apply. We did not start soon enough. I didn't know it would be so complicated.
Yeah.
I personally thought it was way harder than applying for a green card in the United States.
Green card, work
Second green
permit,
card.
citizenship
yeah.
all together.
Every single,
More difficult.
way more difficult. It was a lot of the same requirements, like leases and like past 6 months of bank statements and stuff like that. But what I found frustrating was Colombians, I personally don't find them to be very good communicators. So they don't say what they need online, and they say what they need last minute. So to prove our income, we had to get some specific form filled out by an accountant that I'd never heard of. It's specifically a Colombian thing. And nowhere in the directions, even from the lawyers,
No one knew that we needed that.
no one knew. Until last minute, they're like, oh, you should probably turn this in after we submitted the application for the visa, which was incredibly frustrating. Little things like that, they just built up. So I ended up having to go back to the States to apply for my visa and just waiting at a friend's house. So we were split apart for about 42 days. And
But we didn't know if a visa was going to be approved. Like, did we have to go back to the States? But we didn't have a home in the States. So where we going to live?
yeah.
It was just a lot of like scenarios that went through our mind.
Yeah, it was a really like difficult period of time, and that was in June and July. But we got through it. I got approved. I got my visa, and you know, if we desire to, I can stay here for another 2 years, basically. But we'll see. But it was definitely stressful. The fourth item is that Whitney got robbed literally the day after I had left back to the US to work on my visa. And what happened?
So it was 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It had rained, so the streets were kind of like empty. I was walking to my parents' house and I had my mochila. I didn't have my phone out or anything. I looked pretty raggedy actually. And a guy stopped on a motorcycle and he was asking for directions. And I was like, I don't know. And he kept asking and insisting. And I was like, okay, maybe I should help him. And so he was like, hey, I'm going to show you the specific thing that I'm talking about and where I'm trying to get to. It was a park. And he tried to get his phone out, but instead he showed me a gun. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
In that moment, I petrified. And he's like, give me your phone. And I was like, I just gave it to him. And then he asked for a watch. And I just lifted up my hands and I was like, I have nothing else. And he just kind of like left. And I was like in shock.
Yeah.
So I kind of like ran to the apartment complex and I kind of like asked for help to the security guards. And
Yeah. And he was on a nice motorcycle. He was by himself. Usually they rob you with two motorcyclists. One guy has a gun, one's the driver. So this is kind of odd that it was a nice motorcycle and that it was a guy by himself. And the other, like later, a couple weeks later, like we saw some car just randomly stop where there's a lot of traffic, and they started asking for directions in the same way, and we're like, oh crap. But it was a weird time of day because there were so many people around. But what we learned in that situation is like you were more of a target if you were by yourself on an empty street, because who's going to be there to see or report or possibly rescue you? And so it made us like more aware of our surroundings as we moved around Colombia, just deciding when to leave the phone at home or not and take Ubers and things like that.
And now there's people that want to cross, so stop.
So back on the trail. Oh man, every step makes you breathe harder. I'm also pretty congested this week because it's been so rainy. My voice has been going out, but I'm fine. I feel fine. I'm still gonna hike. The fifth item that was really stressful was the Amaga road closure we experienced actually just a few weeks ago. So tell us about like what happens in these road closures, Winnie.
Wait.
You hear that? Is that a bird or is that a locust?
It's a bird.
It's a bird, right? Little.
But wait, so like, anyways, what happened is we went to Amaga, a town south of Medellin, to visit some of our friends.
Yes, and their family.
And their family. And so the thing about the way from Manizales to Amaga, they're doing a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And so there is a lot of construction, and there's been a lot of traffic for years. I don't know exactly how long, but it's been a long time.
And this year there's been a lot more rain in that region, and it's caused a lot more landslides. So driving there, like we saw, there had been 12 different times like they reduced the traffic to one lane because the road had been destroyed by mini landslides, basically.
Yeah, either landslides or they were doing work.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of traffic, and these truck drivers and other transportation drivers are complaining because it's taking way too long for the company to fix the road.
And they're taking other roads.
Yes.
Alternative roads and going through these smaller towns such as Amaga.
Amaga.
And they had a scheduled protest that we didn't know anything about till we got to the town, and we started seeing signs for it. We started hearing it on the radio. We started seeing
people were commenting, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah. And through Whitney's experience, being Colombian, she's like, these types of things could happen for a couple hours. They could happen for a couple of months. So we just had no idea. And what made it really stressful was the fact that like we had booked 2 additional nights after the protest start time at like 12 midnight. And we were going to go, I needed to go to the United States to pick up a computer for work. And I'm like, I don't think we can risk this.
No, we needed to like be in Medellin.
Yeah. And so we were like, we knew it was a non-refundable booking at this finca that we stayed at. It was nice. It was a nice little boutique finca. But we wish we had known in advance about this protest that was scheduled for, I don't know, months or something.
No, it wasn't scheduled for months.
Okay.
But there were rumors about it.
Yeah. And we booked it like a week before, and I think they probably knew about it. And we actually saw some workers like packing up and leaving, and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, man, if I see workers packing up and leaving, we got to go. We're just going to skip out on 2 nights of staying in this finca and lose basically like, 65 plus 65, so like $130, whatever.
So we just had an Airbnb in Caldas that it was a part of the metropolitan area of Medellin, so that town wasn't going to be affected.
No.
And then in the end of the day, the protest lasted like 2 hours.
Yes.
so
we could have gone
close the
back.
roads. Yeah.
We could have gone back to the finca.
We needed to be safe and be prepared for any scenario. And I think we took the best decision for us.
Yes, for sure.
Let's get going because we're almost there.
Yeah. Show us the way, Whitney.
Vamos.
We made it. The final stressful thing that we are going to discuss today is the fact that we have been moving from Airbnb to Airbnb typically booking an entire month, sometimes a week or two. And I think what has become really challenging about this is the fact that we like our routine. And when you go to a new place and you have new equipment or lack of equipment, lack of kitchen knives,
Good kitchen knives.
good kitchen knives, or just one pot to cook with, it just kind of like throws off your entire routine of like what you're used to making at home. And we like to cook at home. Plus, like, geographically where we're located gets challenging because it's like we got to figure out where the closest grocery store is, if we want to do the gym, where the closest gym is, and we're also concerned like how safe is it to just walk there. So it has become a little stressful, but at the same time we've gotten used to it, and we've kind of like, as soon as we get to a place, we unpack and we start figuring out where things are, because
It doesn't matter how late it is.
it doesn't matter how late it is or like how tired we are. We're just like, we unpack, we put everything up, we start looking at like, what are the different utensils, what do we have to work with, and that has at least made it a little bit more efficient and more of a routine, and it jumpstarts us getting into our normal, boring routine that we love so much. What have you thought about?
I mean, it is what it is. It's better when it's 1 month.
Yes.
When it is like every 1 week or every 2 weeks, that's when it's really stressful to me.
Yes.
Because, geez.
Because it takes a week. It takes a week for you to get used to a place, and then even after that, you're still kind of getting used to things, and you also don't know what the quality of the bed is going to be. That's never really specific, like in Airbnb like postings. So that also gets stressful when it's like, oh man, I'm gonna have to sleep on this thing for a week or a month. It's so hard, or it's so small, or I don't know. And Colombia, like when you travel around, you're at different elevations, so you're always getting like a different temperature. Some places don't have air conditioning, most places, and it's just like, how am I going to sleep at night? Am I going to sleep butt naked because it's so hot, or am I going to be like throwing as many blankets on top of me because it's so cold because we're so high up in the mountains?
Yeah, and sometimes they don't give you enough blankets.
Yeah.
They give you one set of sheet for 1 month of stay.
One towel, bathing towel, one kitchen towel. Almost every Airbnb has given us one freaking kitchen towel.
If any.
And sometimes none. And so we end up just buying a bunch of paper towels, which I don't really like, but I'm like, at least we can keep the place clean to our standards because that's what we like.
Overall, some stressful things, but it's been good.
Yeah, it's been a really good year. It's been pretty epic.
We've learned some new things about ourselves, about our relationship, our dynamics.
New every month, something new every month. Like it's been quite the opposite of compared to the past couple of years, right? COVID, just staying at home all the time. But yeah, it's been good. If you live in Colombia, or you have traveled around Colombia for a long extent, I'm just curious to know what your thoughts, if you've experienced any of these things yourself.
What stressful experiences have you had?
Yeah, or what other stressful experiences you think you anticipate if you want to come visit the country, or just let us know your general thoughts. We'd love to hear them.
It's cold, it's so chilly right now.
I think it feels good. Now that I was breaking a sweat going up that little pass. All right, let's go down the mountain. We got to go home and eat breakfast.
Yeah.